Hi, this is Ron Frank again. Al Frank, and also our Albert Frank. I've used my name in these forms to reach people. I don't change. Here we go. We're continuing segment number 4. I'm on page 14. Camera moves in closer, a glimpse of their debate. Adams. Purge that Constitution of its corruption and give to it its popular branch equality of representation, and it would be the most perfect Constitution ever devised by the wit of man. Hamilton. Purge it of its corruption and give to it its popular branch equality of representation, and it would become an impracticable government. The British Constitution, as it stands at present, with all its supposed defects, it is the most perfect Constitution which ever existed. Jefferson. Amongst reasonable men, certainly gentlemen, by some mutual sacrifices of opinion, to form a compromise, the preservation of the Union and of concord among the states is more important. Patriot, a hand salute. Debate was the spirit of the times, and even though some of the participants were rogues, out of these debates, the democratic-republican system of self-government was born. Dissolved Monticello at his writing desk, a letter to a patriot colleague, Jefferson. On every question of construction, carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted. Recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying what meaning may be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, conform to the probable one in which it was passed. I believe the states can best govern our home concerns and the general government our foreign ones. I wish never to see all offices transferred to Washington, where further withdrawn from the eyes of the people, there may more secretly be bought and sold as at market. Our general objections are the same. Objects, are the same. To preserve the Republican form and principles of our Constitution and cleave to the salutary distribution of powers which that has established. Dissolved to sketch voting booth circa 1776. Patriot voiceover. The spirit of the times may alter, will alter. What has been the effect of complacency and coercion? Free to think as long as you think what you're told to think. The choice of personal conviction and knowledge of rights and freedom. This is the responsibility of each and every one of us as citizens. Patriot stepping into the frame. Patriot. So, hopefully, the people then will be saved from the uninspired members of government who do not believe in or uphold the natural rights of man, which the United States of America is all about. Wide Night, Washington, D.C., 1993. A spectacular 4th of July fireworks display above the Capitol. Our Patriot walks across the screen overlay. Patriot. Amendments. For considerations and corrections, to nourish and perpetuate the spirit. It would work like this. After Congress, House, and Senate vote for a bill to become law, and the President signs the bill, then the bill must be sent to the 9 justices of the Supreme Court to determine if the bill squares with the Constitution. The Supreme Court, then, is the last check on the general government to prevent any subversion of the Constitution from being enacted, meaning enforced. In this way, illegal assumptions will be stopped, and the people, the cities, and counties, and the states will not have to do it as it was in the case of the upheaval caused by the Alien and the Sedition Acts. And thanks to the Jeffersonians, the Kentucky Resolution settled the question, for it is the people who determine if a bill is or is not constitutional. And the people, through their own declarations, the resolutions of their representative governments, chosen by themselves, beginning at the lowest level and then with approval moving up. An echo of his thoughts, Jefferson voiceover. The ultimate determination is with the people. This corporeal globe and everything upon it belongs to its present corporeal inhabitants. During their generation, they alone have a right to direct what is the concern of themselves and to declare the law of that direction. And this declaration can only be made by their majority. Dissolved the exterior of Monticello at dusk. Jefferson standing at the side of his house, taking a moment looking out over his modest estate. Camera moves across the fields and into the afternoon light as we dissolve full frame. Document in Congress July 4th, 1776, a declaration by the representatives of the United States of America. Note, a photograph of the original document, the Declaration of Independence, no roll down. Voiceover narrator reads the opening paragraph. Narrator. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with inherent and inalienable rights, that among these certain are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Patriot appears on the scene, a background rendering of the participants of the signing. Patriot. This declaration for the freedom and independence laid the foundation for drafting our American Constitution. All the forces in the world are not so powerful as an idea whose time has come, and this is where the real debate started. Dissolved to a letter to John Adams, the quill in Jefferson's hand. Jefferson. Men have differed in opinion and have been divided into parties by these opinions from the first origin of societies and in all governments where they have been permitted freely to think and to speak. The same political parties which now agitate our United States have existed throughout all time. Another pertinent message, Jefferson. I do then with sincere zeal which an inviolable preservation of our present federal Constitution, according to the true sense in which it was adopted by the states, that in which it was advocated by its friends, and not that which its enemies apprehended, who therefore became its enemies, and I am opposed to the monarchizing of its features by the forms of its president and senate for life. I am for a government rigorously frugal and simple, applying all the possible savings of the public revenue to the discharge of the national debt, and not for multiplication of offices and salaries merely to make partisans, and for increasing by everyday device the public debt on the principle of its being a public blessing. Dissolved to a portrait of George Washington, Jefferson voiceover. He often declared to me that he considered our new Constitution as an experiment on the practicability of Republican government, and for what dose of liberty man could be trusted for his own good. He was determined the experiment should have a fair trial and would lose the last drop of his blood in support of it. Dissolve. A view of the battlefield at Valley Forge. The winter is 1777. The exterior is Washington comes out of his tent at night. Vision. Washington walking among the trees, recanting his visions. Narrator, voiceover. Here is a story from a reprint of the National Tribune, Volume 4, Number 12 of December 1880, originally published by Wesley Bradshaw, patriot with newspaper in hand, patriot reading the newspaper. I want to tell you of an incident of Washington's life, one which no one alive knows of except myself. And if you live, you will, before long, see it verified. As we begin to hear Washington, I do not know whether it is owing to the anxiety of my mind or what, but this afternoon, as I was sitting at this table, engaged in preparing a dispatch, something seemed to disturb me. Looking up, I beheld standing opposite me a singularly beautiful female. A beat. So astonished was I, for I had given strict orders not to be disturbed. that it was some moments before I found language to inquire into the cause of her presence. A second, a third, and even a fourth time I did repeat my question, but received no answer from my mysterious visitor except a slight raising of her eyes. By this time I felt strange sensations spreading through me. I would have risen, but the riveted gaze of the being afore me before... I'm sorry, I have a phone call upstairs.